please hit that subscribe button. Hey everybody, better suited to win the Stanley Cup this season. If you are new to the channel, Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins.
Locked on and he scored! And we're live. Hey everybody, so we're back again for another off-season recap video, and today we're going to be looking at the Vancouver Canucks. Vancouver had a very, very nice season last year and a great playoff as they went much deeper into the playoffs than a lot of people expected and even knocked out the defending Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues. So Vancouver had a great season last year. They're a young, up-and-coming team coming out of a rebuild that are certainly not rebuilding anymore. And they have had a pretty active offseason this year as well. They've lost a number of players, but they've also brought in some key players as well. So before we fully get into it, I just ask that you please subscribe if you are new and hit that thumbs up button if you haven't yet. Both of those things help out so much and are greatly appreciated. But when we look at Vancouver here, obviously we had some key players leave: Jacob Markstrom, Chris Tanev, Tyler Toffoli. They've also brought in, Braden Holtby to play with Thatcher Demko in goal. They brought in Nate Schmidt in a trade with the Vegas Golden Knights in a great deal for the Canucks. So they had some big pieces come in. They had some big pieces go out. And for this video, I brought in my friend and Vancouver Canuck fan, Canuck Clay, to talk about his team and talk about the moves. And he does a very good job of going through everything that Vancouver has done this offseason. So rather than me ramble on about it, I'm going to hand things off quickly here to him and let him talk about it from a Canucks fan's perspective and give his opinion on all of the Canucks moves. So Clay, here you go.
My name is Clay Emo. I'm Canuck Clay both on YouTube and on Twitter. I've been a Canucks season ticket holder for the past 10 seasons. I'm a daily YouTuber, I'm a parody song creator, and I'm the founder of the GLCPC, the Good Looking Canucks Positivity Club. And yes, that's a real thing. I was thrilled to be invited by my friend John to take part in his amazing series looking at the off seasons of all 31 NHL teams. So surprise, surprise, I'm here to talk about my favorite team, the Vancouver Canucks. Now, the Canucks surprised the hockey world, the entire hockey world, with their deep playoff run just a few months ago. They surprised fans, media, opposing players, coaches, managements by taking out, firstly, the Minnesota Wild in the play-in round, then defeating the St. Louis Blues, the defending Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues, in 6 games in the first true playoff round, and then taking the Vegas Golden Knights all the way to a 7th game. And Thatcher Demko stood on his head. I'll get to him in a few minutes. And they were powered by the young guys like Demko, like Elias Pettersson, like Quinn Hughes, like Brock Besser, like Bo Horvat, among others. So yes, they surprised the hockey world. I would say that Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes single-handedly or double-handedly or four-handedly, whatever you call it, they've single-handedly sped up the rebuild for the Vancouver Canucks by 1, 2, even 3 years. And that's no exaggeration. They've given Canucks fans hope for a return to the Stanley Cup Finals, maybe leading us to the first Stanley Cup championship in our franchise history. But to get there, they got to keep improving their team. So today we're going to talk about, did they actually improve their team in the offseason? And when you look on paper, you could argue no, that they haven't actually, that they may have gotten worse. That's because they've lost 1/3 of their active roster from last year. And like half of them went to Calgary, which I'll get to in a second. So we have starting goalie Jacob Markstrom. Now, Jacob Markstrom got hurt in the playoffs. That's why Demko ended off the playoff run. But you have Jacob Markstrom, our starting goalie, our 2-time reigning MVP, going to the Calgary Flames on a 6-year deal. Term and money might be a little bit too much for Vancouver. Chris Tanev, defenseman, also goes to Calgary on a 4-year deal. Likely, money was okay, but the term definitely a little bit too much for an older defenseman. Josh Levo, he was hurt at the end of the year, but he followed suit. And actually, third stringer Louis Domingue also went to Calgary. So 4 Canucks players went to the Calgary Flames. We kind of jokingly refer to them as the Calgary Canucks. No, we don't do that. We don't want to do that. But yeah, it goes to say that when you have your number 1 goaltender and your second or third best defenseman go to a division rival, that could sting a little bit. Now, with both Markstrom and Tanev in particular, the 2 bigger pieces of those 4 players, yeah, as I said, the term was probably too long. 6 years for Markstrom, 4 years for Tanev, and Markstrom definitely wanted no movement protection in his new contract as a UFA, given the Seattle expansion draft coming up at the end of next season, and the Canucks simply weren't willing to do that because of who they have in Thatcher Demko, who I'll get to in a minute. So there's 4 players in Calgary: Markstrom, Tanev, Levo, and Domingue. You have Tyler Toffoli, brought in at the end of last season to bolster our top six. He certainly did, but we could not come to terms with him, and now he's playing in Montreal. And then you have Troy Stetcher, our local hero from Vancouver, solid third-pairing defenseman. He signed with the Detroit Red Wings. And then you add in defenseman Oscar Fantenberg, a 6'7". He's playing the KHL. So that's 7 players that the Canucks have lost in the offseason. Who do we bring in to counteract those losses? We brought in Nate Schmidt, Braden Holtby, and Jace Hurlock. With Nate Schmidt, bona fide first-pairing defenseman, this was a steal by the Vancouver Canucks, trading only a third-round draft pick in next year's draft to, actually the 2022 draft, not 2021. So in the 2022 draft, third-round draft pick to the Vegas Golden Knights for a bona fide top-pairing defenseman. That's because the Knights had to figure some money things out when they signed Alex Pietrangelo, so the Canucks were the beneficiary. So in Quinn Hughes and in Nate Schmidt, you have 2 wonderfully offensively gifted, great skating defensemen. They can get the puck out of our zone. They can get the puck into the opposing zone. So I think Nate Schmidt is actually an upgrade on Chris Tanev when you kind of look at them one-on-one. Then you have Braden Holtby, brought in to mentor, to share time with Thatcher Demko. The Vancouver Canucks have very high hopes in Thatcher Demko. In fact, I've heard from a team source many years ago, I talk about this all the time in my vlogs, that the Canucks have Luongo-type hopes for Thatcher Demko. So with the exit of Jacob Markstrom, they have now anointed Thatcher Demko the goalie of the future, maybe even the present, depending on the game split with Braden Holtby. But yes, we saw what Demko could do. He stood on his head, he stood on his leg, his hand, his elbow, any other body part you want in those 3 games against Vegas, and almost stole the series for the Vancouver Canucks, although they ran out of gas at the very end. So Thatcher Demko, we are set net with him and with Braden Holtby brought in on a team-friendly 2-year contract. And then a depth signing, Jace Hurlock, free agent signing, most recently played for Ottawa. He will battle for a spot in our bottom 6. So when you look at the 7 guys out and the 3 guys in, you could argue that the Canucks, at least on paper, looks like they got worse. They lost their starting goalie. They maybe had a bit of an upgrade on D with Schmidt over Tanev, although you factor in Fantenberg and Stetcher. And then you get probably worse in your forwards with the departure of Tyler Toffoli. But what I've learned with this Vancouver Canucks team, and maybe it's because I'm so positive, not so much good looking, but I'm so positive, GLCPC, you cannot count these Vancouver Canucks out, especially when you look at the character and the development of the core players. We're the only team in the last 50 years that have 3 consecutive Calder Trophy finalists. Brock Besser 3 seasons ago, Elias Pettersson, who won it 2 seasons ago, and Quinn Hughes, a runner-up last season. So you have our core 4 is basically Pettersson, Hughes, Besser, and our captain, Bo Horvat. You add in the development and the emergence of Thatcher Demko, the leadership of JT Miller and Alex Edler, the arrival of Braden Holtby and especially Nate Schmidt. And I know Canucks fans were hopeful, we're optimistic that we can scrap and fight for a playoff series amongst all the other Canadian teams if we do this all-Canadian division. And then once you get in the playoffs, as you know, anything can happen. So there we go. On paper, the Canucks maybe got worse, but I think when you have guys like Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes leading the charge, you can never count the Canucks out. Love to hear what John has to say, what his thoughts are on the Canucks offseason moves and departures and additions, and I'm looking forward to watching the rest of this series. Take care, everyone, and God bless.
I want to give a huge thank you to Canuck Clay for coming on the channel. Please check his channel out if you aren't already a subscriber. It will be linked in the description as always. He does some phenomenal hockey content on his channel, and I really appreciate him coming on and helping me with this video. So, Clay talked a lot about, on paper, the Canucks potentially getting worse, and they did lose a lot this offseason. I think, the Toffoli loss certainly hurts more than anything else, but overall, I really don't think the Canucks have had that bad of an offseason. Yes, Jacob Markstrom is gone, but Thatcher Demko showed that he is the goalie of the future and the present for the Vancouver Canucks now. His performance in the playoffs was just absolutely outstanding. Thatcher Demko is ready to take over that starting job. And then they bring in a veteran Stanley Cup winning goaltender like Braden Holtby to kind of probably be a 1B type guy and really just mentor and help out the young goalie in Demko. And if Demko goes through a tough stretch or starts to struggle, you have Braden Holtby there to, kind of smooth things out and really, settle the whole team down. So While Markstrom is definitely a loss, I think it was smart of Vancouver not to give him a long-term deal because Thatcher Demko is the future of that team in goal. And then you look at the Nate Schmidt trade and them losing Chris Tanev. As Clay said, Nate Schmidt is an upgrade over Chris Tanev. There is no even question about that. Nate Schmidt is an upgrade over Chris Tanev. Now, did they lose some defensive depth? Yes, and that might be an area of concern or something that they might have to a look at or hope that a younger guy can step up. But you have Nate Schmidt now added into that defense core with Quinn Hughes already there. They got better on defense, in my opinion. At least within their top 4, they got better on defense. Losing to Foley up front obviously hurts, but you have Bo Horvat, you've got Elias Pettersson, you've got Brock Besser. You've got, these guys another year older, another year more experienced, another year of a development under their belt, particularly the younger guys like Besser and Pettersson. They're only going to keep getting better. So overall, while there were some losses there this offseason for the Canucks, overall, I think they've done a really, really good job. I think, they've kind of offset those losses and at least made it kind of a wash and evened it out. And their young players, I think, are going to continue getting better. This is a team coming out of a rebuild. This is a team that is, really as Clay said, the core of this group is, Besser, Pettersson, Horvat, and Hughes. And those are all young, very, very good players who are just going to continue to even improve even beyond what they are already. And particularly Pettersson, I think, is going to be eventually a 100-point scorer. And Hughes on the back end, I think, will be in the Norris Trophy conversation sooner rather than later. So, you add Nate Schmidt to that decor, and the offense from the back end there is going to be fantastic. And overall, this is a team that should absolutely be competing, not to get into the playoffs. They should be a playoff team. Looking at this team, they should be a playoff team. They should be keep competing for the Stanley Cup. They should be looking at going deep into the playoffs, maybe trying to make it to the conference finals next season or even the Stanley Cup finals next season. There's a lot to like about the Vancouver Canucks. I am very, very high on this team. I was high on this team before last season, more so than most. There were still a lot of people at the beginning of last year that didn't think they were playoff ready yet, and I was saying, I'm really, really high on this team. I think they're going to be very good sooner rather than later, and they proved that was the case last year. I'm really high on them again this year. I think they're going to prove that they're not. Last year wasn't just one-off good season. Last year was what the Vancouver Canucks are going to be, and they're going to continue to get even better beyond that. And I think they have a chance to go very, very deep into the playoffs. So I am very, very high on the Canucks again. This is a team I like a lot. I think they're built very well, and they've already proven that they can win in the postseason. And with Demko and Holtby as your goaltending tandem, I think they're going to be perfectly fine this coming year. So again, huge thanks to Canuck Clay for coming on. Really appreciate it. Thank you all for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon merchandise store and donation link are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.